What was that?
It's McCowan. It's Shannon. We are back. And we are joined by a guy who is going back to a familiar place from which he came. He played there, he coached there, and now he will be the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets. Rick Bowness is with us. How are you? Okay?
Good morning, guys. Just doing great. Thank you.
Well, tell me about going back. This is a reunion with the city of Winnipeg. You are familiar with it more than most guys who would have taken this job. What does this mean to you?
Well, it's probably number 3 on the list. When they called me to interview me for the job, it certainly piqued my interest because I do believe that team, for whatever reason, that team just lost its way last year. And it's the second reason, it's a really good team. I believe that the talent is there to win. So that gets the competitive juices going. And yeah, it is nice to go back to Winnipeg. I worked for the Jets for 9 years in every capacity you can imagine. And our daughter was born in Winnipeg. We had some great years there. We had some really good teams in Winnipeg in the 80s. We could beat Calgary in the playoffs. We couldn't get past Edmonton, and I always blame Grant Fuhrer, who I worked with in Phoenix years later. I said, "Fuhrer, you were always the difference against those guys." He was, but listen. Again, it's a really good team, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of getting that team back on track. And certainly for the city of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba, we're excited about everything that this job has to entail for us.
Just curious, when you left Dallas, did you think you'd be getting another head coaching job this quickly?
No, I didn't think so. I didn't know. I certainly didn't rule it out. But I didn't know when I left Dallas, like I didn't ask for an extension. They didn't offer one. So, it's time to move on. I had a couple of other opportunities around the league to go in as the associate coach and help either a younger coach out or help a team rebuild. And I really wasn't at my age, I really wasn't excited about doing that again. I've done a lot of that. So when Winnipeg actually called, that got the competitive juices going again. And again, it's for the reasons that we just talked about, but I wasn't sure if I'd get another opportunity. I wasn't going to pursue anything, as I mentioned at the end of the year. If something comes along that piques my interest, I'm certainly going to listen. And this job obviously did.
Both of these teams, the one you left and the one you are going to, have a similarity in that neither one of them played well last year. Both of them were disappointments. What do you do when you go into a situation like that, Rick? What's the primary objective?
So what do you mean Dallas was disappointed? Why do you say that?
You don't think so?
The team had 98 points. Pretty good.
I don't know. I thought that that was a Dallas team that had a chance to win it all, and they did not. And obviously someone else felt kind of the same way, given that you're now in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
so
I agree. But I don't think that team, we had trouble scoring. There's no question about it. Did the team underachieve? That's a debate.
Fair enough.
I think the team did underachieve at 98 points. And listen, we were supposed to have a Ben Bishop in the net. Didn't have him. Dobie got hurt. All of a sudden, we're using a kid in the net that's supposed to be in the minors for the full year, and he was outstanding. There's no question. He certainly wasn't the problem. He helped the team become a better team, but the way the team was going to be built in training camp and the way the team was built at the end of the year are two different things. And certainly no one saw Robinson step up and score. Robertson scored 41 goals, right? No one thought Rupe would be able to do what he did. No one thought Pavelski would have a career year. So the team did not underachieve. We went into overtime in Game 7 with a better team in Calgary, and we had some great opportunities. We just didn't score. So that would be a debate that can go on and on. So,
all right, I'm just trying to get a comparison between the two as you go into this and start looking at this.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Okay. So when we went into Winnipeg a couple of years ago, we walked out of those rinks saying, wow, that team was tough to play against. That was a tough game. We never felt that way against Winnipeg last year. And against, when I say they lost their way, that's what I'm talking about. It was not that the talent level, it's just somehow the team lost its way and it didn't compete. as hard as it had in previous years. So I think that was a difference. I think the Dallas, we competed, we made it hard. We were good defensively. We never felt leaving Winnipeg and playing the Jets that it was the same team that we had seen prior to the going into Winnipeg the last couple of years. So that team, again, it lost its way. Is the talent there? Yeah, listen, it starts with the goalie. Connor Hellebuck's good top five goalie. We got to get that team doing a better job playing in front of him so he can get back in the top five in the league. And the offense is there. That team has got to tighten up and become harder to play against, which it was a couple of years ago.
You know, just a quick thought about the Dallas scenario, and both of you, I think I agree with both of you in this one, simply because I expected, and I think you did too, Rick, you expected your Dallas Stars team to score more. You had big names. Now, let's face it, Tyler Seguin was he ever 100% last year?
No, not really.
Yeah, and I think we always expected your teams, because when you displayed speed, holy smokes, you were impressive, but you couldn't finish very well. And I think we all were shocked that sometimes your players were unable to finish as well as most people expected.
Our numbers went up in terms of creating offense and spending a little bit more time in the ozone. The analytics kind of had improved from the year before. The finish didn't.
Yeah. On the Winnipeg side, and I do a bit of work in Winnipeg. The exit interviews for the players talked about, and they were quite open about culture, and about dressing room, and about camaraderie. Have you talked to many of the players since you took over? And do you get the same sense?
No, I get the sense that some of the things that were said were misunderstood or taken the wrong way. I've had some great conversations with Mark Scheifele. He's been outstanding. He really has. He's all in. So I know what he said at the end of the year. He wanted to go in and see where the team was going. Well, there's if you're not there and you don't hear the tone of the words, was it antagonistic or was it inquisitive? Like, there's a big difference there. Same words, but the tone of the words would lead you to different impressions. So the talks I've had with him, Blake Wheeler, Josh Morrissey, these guys, Connor, they're all in, and they're all saying the same thing, that the culture isn't nearly as bad as it was perceived outside of the locker room. They all get along. They all know they lost their way last year. They all know it went this way instead of keeping it tight together. They're well aware of that, but nor are they pointing fingers and blaming this guy or that guy or that guy. They say we all underachieved. We're all at fault, but they're all anxious to get back on the ice in September and prove that last year was just a bad year, that it just went array on them. So I'm encouraged, not discouraged, by talking to the players. They feel that it's a much tighter group than anyone else gives it credit for. There was a couple of weddings and there's 12, 14 guys showing up at the weddings. They hang out more together than people give them credit for. So I know there are some nasty things being said about the team. I don't and I was inquisitive about that. It's just like you are. So I had to talk to every player. Okay, tell me what was going on there. I wasn't in the room, wasn't around the team. I saw your team from the outside. Didn't get the feeling that it was a tight group, but they're all telling me the same thing. And now, obviously, we've got to go to camp and prove that and pull it back together. And that'll be the big challenge from the players and the coaching staff. We've got a whole new staff coming in with a lot of experience. And it's going to be our job as coaches to pull that group back together, get them on the same page, give them some direction, and then listen, the play's got to take over and they got to stop talking about it. But I understand what you're saying, and I get it. And I had my same concerns that you brought up, and they've been relieved because of my conversations with all the players.